Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Jen is here today. We've been friends since 2010. High school. So we've been
friends.
we've been in this bitch for forever. So this is not a makeup video, but we are talking about some DNA makeup, which is still interesting and cool. So a little backstory about this. I always had an interest in learning about my DNA, but Jen did it first, and Jen inspired me to do it myself. So within like 3 weeks, my results came really fast. Within 3 weeks, I got my report and I know what I am. So stay tuned if you want to find more about the, ancestry.
Where we're from.
Yeah, where we're from. DNA, all that good stuff.
So, as Justine said before, I did the 23andMe test first. I did it in like early, like mid-March. I looked into it. I chose 23andMe because I just saw more benefits to doing it, and it was cheaper in price with the sale than like Ancestry DNA. And you know, the funny thing is that I had already like my ancestry tree on Ancestry. Like I had created the tree, and it goes back to like grandparents, and on some side of my family it goes back to like great grandparents. But Ancestry DNA, to get some of the features that you pay for, you have to keep paying for it monthly, and I thought that was bullshit, and I didn't want to do that. So I did 23andMe, and it's all there. You don't have to keep paying to talk to relatives that you might find. So that's why I chose 23andMe, and then I just pushed it on to Justine, and she was like, yeah, sure, I'll do it too. And now we have this thing going on here, so we are gonna find out what we are.
Both of my parents are Jamaican. My mom was born in England, and my dad was born in Jamaica. My dad
was born in England?
Yeah, my mom's born in England. So yeah, she's a British citizen, but you know, the accent is gone.
So my family is Dominican. Both my parents were born in DR. Both of their parents were Dominican. And then Dominicans are either Native American, not Native American, Native Indians from DR, so like usually the Tainos, and they're African or European, and the Europeans that got there were Spanish. Basically, Hispanics don't usually know where they're from, and actually like African Americans either. It's really hard to figure out like what our lineage is. I was always into that kind of thing about DNA, and my dad was always too, but my dad usually did more genealogy, like where our last names come from, and he even found like a family crest, and we know like the origins of our last names. Or I know on my mom's side too, like she had told me that some of her dad's family was from the island of St. Thomas, which is Virgin Islands. I really wanted to know the most that I could out of it, which is why I might actually do like Ancestry DNA next, or have one of my parents do the DNA thing too.
Cool.
So now we're gonna find out what it is that we are.
Yeah, what
the
are
results,
we?
like,
Cool,
what's
all that good
happening.
stuff. So stay tuned if you want to know what we are.
So it's really cute. It tells you like you're 100% you.
Yeah, I am me.
So yes, I know, thank you. So the top shows you your biggest percentage, and me and Justine have our biggest percentage is the same thing.
Oh, we got sub-Saharan African for both of us. We'll start off with the general percentage. So for me, it's 71.8%. So Wakanda forever. Wakanda forever.
Yeah, I also got sub-Saharan African as my biggest percentage. It's 61.5%. So it's like about 10.3% smaller than Justine's is. And then it breaks it down by areas of sub-Saharan Africa. So it's West Africa and East Africa, and it depending on like depending on what in Africa is what the DNA that you have, it'll tell you like different. Like I have 3 sub-regions, and I have 4, and Justine has 3, so it depends. My biggest percentage in sub-Saharan Africa is West African, and it's 57.3%.
Yes. So same. So mine is the biggest percentage is West African as well. And mine is 69.3%.
For family history, like a little nugget of info that I got from my dad is that his family lineage in West Africa, he's pretty sure it's from Guinea, so maybe it's from Guinea, maybe not. Like when you look at the tested populations, Guinea is not one of the sub-regions, so I'm not sure.
Let's go to our next percentage.
Wait, we still
did. Oh my god! No, we're not going to.
We're still in Africa.
Yeah,
she's
we're still in Africa. We're not moving around. We here. We're in the motherland. Next biggest percentage would be broadly sub-Saharan Africa. So it's basically everything that isn't North Africa. So that could range from Zimbabwe, it could range from Chad, from Madagascar, Ghana, Nigeria.
Everything from like west to east to central to South Africa. But because it's broadly sub-Saharan, they can just tell you it's from this area, but it could just be more West African. Or it could be like South African, who knows? But
yeah, we don't know.
Until they keep testing populations for Africa, we won't really know for sure.
We both got African hunter-gatherer.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I never heard of that before. I mean, I'm sure they're like, that sounds very like Neolithic. So I just thought, it wasn't in my mind when I saw it. I was just like, wow. But it's such a small percentage. But it shows up, so it means like you definitely had someone in your lineage that were like hunter-gatherers. They were nomadic people.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, my percentage was 0.9 for that. So yeah, really, really small, but it's in there, and I gather. I gather stuff.
My percentage was 0.5%.
So yeah, it's there, and it says here it ranges from people from like Nambia and Botswana. This is so cool because now we can go to all these places and see like, yo, brother. So yeah, that's some cool stuff. So
and I also, like Justine got broadly sub-Saharan African. I got 3.4%, but that one sub-region that I got that Justine didn't get was East African, 0.2%. So I know, like, I heard that it's kind of rare to end up having something in East Africa because the whole reason you get West African for people who live in the Caribbean, who are Caribbean origins, is because of the slave trade. So it was slaves from West Africa. So it's interesting when you get something East African. It means like there was some intermarriage or interlove in there, or you know, something worse. Like
ooh,
rape.
yeah, we don't.
So things we don't want to talk about, but you know, could happen. So
right. So next we're going to go to the colonizers, Europeans. And we both got European ancestry. So for me, it's 14%, 14.7% if we want to get specific. For me, I consider that small, but it's there. And for Jen,
my percentage is higher. Dominicans range between African, Native Americans of the island, and European. For the most part, because we speak Spanish, it's usually Spanish people from Spain, which are European. They're not Hispanic, they're not Latino. That's something else. That's not a race, it's an ethnicity. So I got 29.1% European. It's a pretty big chunk. It's almost 30%. So, you know, definitely there was some European ancestry in my family, and I had an idea of it, so I wasn't very surprised. I'm surprised with some of the other subregions of Europe that I have on here, but not by my highest percentage, which is Iberian. Iberia is the Portugal, Spain area, because they're like in one landmass. So they're called like Iberian. And I got Spain, that's one of my little sub-regions that they give you. Like, they're positive you've had an ancestor that lived in Spain in the last 200 years. That's what it says for me. And that percentage is 8.8%. So Justine also has Iberian on here.
Yeah, so I got Iberian too, which surprised me because I'm like, who the fuck my family's from, Spain or Portugal? But I got Iberian. It wasn't really specific as to where, like, you know, was it Spain or was it Portugal? But it's 1.1%. It's a small percentage, but it's there.
Either way, like, Jamaica's one of those islands where like
mixture. True.
Basically.
Conquistadors and all that. And just a little fun fact about Jamaica, if no one ever knew. So Jamaica was actually a Spanish colony. So yeah, so there's that.
Comes from.
And then the British came and was like, "Dub, you need to leave." So basically, the British like kicked all the Spanish out, and then it became a English colony. So that's why we speak English and not Spanish. But Jamaica is a Spanish name. I don't know how to say it the proper way. It's spelled with an X. Yeah, like that. Jamaica. I can't say it like that, but you know. What else did we get for European? So let's see. We both got British and Irish. So it semi-shocked me with British and Irish only because, like, I have family in England. I know for sure I do on my mom's side, but I didn't see how that actually fit in You know what I'm saying? Like in my immediate family, like we're all dark skinned, we're all black ass. Like I didn't know how that fit, but you know, again, like Jamaica is English, was an English based colony. We're now independent, yay. But yeah, they were English based, so I guess that where that comes from, like the whole, you know, colonizing and the slave trade stuff. And that's 3.5%, which is a tiny percentage, but it's there. It is a
British and Irish was way smaller than Justine's percentage. It was 1.3%. I was very surprised. That was one of my sub-regions where I was just like, wow, like I had no idea I had British and Irish in me somewhere. But again, that all goes back to people just traveling back then, and it also goes back to I don't want to say slavery, because I mean it could be slavery. You know, I'm actually not quite clear. Did they bring slaves back to Europe?
I think so. Yeah.
Did. So it could be that, and it could be a lot of things. But my percentage is really small. That means it was probably like one person who got rebellious and was like, I don't want to marry an English person or an Irish. I know I've had like black friends, African American friends, who have said like I have Irish in me, and I always thought it was bullshit, but you know.
Now apparently we have Irish in
You're
us,
Irish
so,
in here, or
you know,
British, whatever it is.
the look of the Irish, you know. So what shocked me the most, like this is a small percentage, but I'm Jewish apparently. I was like, yeah, come to my bar mitzvah. But yeah, I'm Jewish. How do you, Ashkenazi?
Ashkenazi Jewish.
I'm Ashkenazi Jewish. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that.
And then the rest are like broadly categories. So I got broadly Southern European, which is like Italy, and it's like Spain, Portugal, and all those other Southern European countries. And I also have broadly Northwestern European. So broadly Northwestern, I have 4.1%. And then the one I just mentioned before, broadly Southern, I had 10%. All of that is basically just, we couldn't pinpoint where in Europe it is.
I got broadly Southern European as well, but it's very, very minuscule. Like that consists of like Portugal, you know, the Iberian Peninsula. I said that right.
So that 0.9% could bring up your Iberian to 2%.
True.
So
That's true. Yeah, we really don't know. But yeah, that's 0.9%, so small. And then we both got broadly European, so that could consist of anywhere from like the UK, from
to Russia,
right? To Russia. So yeah, mine was 2.8. Jen's was a little bit higher.
Mine was 4.8.
Yeah, we got some colonizer in us. Whoa. Where now we differ a lot. So the next one that I got was South Asian, which is 10%. And that makes sense since I know that my grandmother is half Indian. So it didn't say specifically that she was from India, but it consists of that area. So that could mean Bangladesh, that could mean Afghanistan, and of course it consists of India as well. So it's 10% is, you know, compared to 100, that's small, but it's still a percentage. That's still
it's
really solid.
You're 1/10 Indian.
I'm 1/10 Indian, so, or just South Asian. Let's just broadly categorize it. Yeah, so that's cool. That's cool stuff.
I didn't get South Asian. I have no Indian in me. It's like one of the only parts of my very colored map that isn't lit up, that in Australia. And it's because it's just not part of my personal genetic lineage. It is part of hers, and she explained that she has one of your grandparents was like half Indian or was full Indian, right?
Right. Well, great grand, right? Yeah, great grand.
Yeah. So for me, that's not on there. We both actually got. I just didn't get South Asian. But we both have East Asian and Native American, which makes sense because we're island people from the Caribbean. We have that lineage, so you can go ahead.
Yeah, so my East Asian and Native American percentage is really small. Mine's only 0.4%, so 0.4%.
Me, my Native American was way bigger than Justine's. It was 4.7%, and the Native American brings it down to subregions. It's 4.2% for Native American, and then under that it says Dominican Republic, which is very clear to me because I am Dominican. we're half Dominican, whatever. Both my parents are from DR, and their parents were from DR, and their parents were from DR. So that made sense to me. I was kind of surprised that it was such a small percentage, but that goes back to like thinking like Hispanics aren't a race. We're not a race. Dominicans aren't a race. It's not gonna stay 100% Dominican for my mom. We're an ethnicity, and Dominicans are made up of 3 races, which is European and African and natives. If you were native, a Taino, lucky enough to live when the Europeans came over on their big ass boats and tried to colonize us and put us to work, if you were the ones that survived and weren't raped and killed and didn't die of disease, that's where that small percentage comes from. Like, so somebody in my lineage was natives of DR Taino. I don't know, do you have that too? Yes, you do.
Native, yeah. So I got a very small percentage of Southeast Asian. So that consists of like Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar, Indonesia. It's 0.1%, so it's very small, very minuscule, but it's there. So, you know, whenever we go to Bangkok, we'll just say, hey, cousin, hey, you know, it's lit.
I didn't get Southeast Asian. I instead got broadly East Asian and Native American, which Justine also got. But broadly East Asian is basically, literally, it's just, the map here is like Canada, US, Latin America, South America, and basically any and all East Asian countries, China, Korea, South Korea, Japan, and all these other smaller countries, that's not India. I was actually hoping my percentage for Asian was bigger, because on my mom's side we do have kind of Asian features, smaller eyes, that kind of thing. So we thought that maybe there was some little mixing in there, and there is, but it's really small, unless Asian like genetics features are that strong that like it's that visible for us now. But who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Mine is a little bit more specific. I have 1.4% Western Asian and North African. That breaks it down to North African and Arabian, which I got 1.2%. The biggest percentage of the 1.4% was North African and Arabian, which is North African countries, Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, Egypt, and then, you know, Middle East, Arabian people kind of dominated North Africa for a little bit, and they also lived in, like, rich Arabian people lived in Spain. So, like, I guess that's where that comes from. And then I have 0.1% that's broadly Western Asian and North African.
Same.
But that's the thing about DNA, like, when you do it with your, especially with like twin siblings and stuff like that, it's not exact, because something that your parent passes down to you might be totally different than what they pass down to your sibling.
Right.
So like if my brother does it, any of my brothers do it, and they get like Ashkenazi Jewish, I'm gonna be like, what the hell? Like, that's insane. Like, you got it and I didn't. But that's how DNA works. Like,
yeah, that's wild. This makes me want to make my brother do it so bad. And then if my brother doesn't, then I find out his paternal group. But that's cool. Like, thank you for watching our video, and I hope you guys liked it. Thumbs up, subscribe, tell me your comments, concerns, questions, all that good stuff, and I'll see you guys soon.